All right, all right. Peace to the family. This is Brandon B. Dixon. You tuned into the Power of Ownership podcast. I got my guest host Stephen Contreras in the building.
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, all right. Let's go ahead and start it off with the introductions. My name is Brandon B. Dixon. I'm a published author, serial entrepreneur, community activist, mortgage broker, so on and so forth. My book, Sales the Nucleus of Any Profession, is out right now on Amazon. Go ahead and get you a copy right now. I'm gonna let Steve go ahead and introduce himself, and then let's introduce the show and let's get started.
Hey guys, Stephen Contreras here. I'm a geologist in Houston, Texas, kind of like a Renaissance man, studier of the arts and sciences. Just a little bit, we were talking about animals before the show, lover of animals and nature, and just hoping to spread peace and love everywhere I go.
Gotcha. All right, and if this is your first time tuning in the Power of Ownership podcast, what we talk about here is not only ownership of businesses and homes and intellectual properties, so on and so forth, but we talk about ownership of the mind, body, and soul. We kind of bridge the gap between the seen and the unseen realm. So we kind of dig deep between, going between the metaphysical and the physical, bringing things into fruition, so on and so forth. So we go from an array of different topics and kind of blend it all into one. So let's go and get the promotion done, get that out the way, and then let's go into our topic. First of all, if you like what we're doing, go ahead and hit the Cash App, $ the Power of Ownership. Stephen has his own Cash App as well, Stephen1234 on the Cash App. Also, right now is mortgage season. As you've probably seen, rates are going back up quickly. So, right now is the time to get under contract and get your house. Take advantage while it's still at record lows. Go to www.applywithb.com. I will be happy to help you with your mortgage. Also, go to my website if you want to book me for sales training, motivational speeches. You want me to write sales scripts for you, go to www.billionaireloanofficer.com. Also, you can call me 832-775-8357. You call me 24/7. I'm available if it's about business, so we'll go from there. At Billionaire Loan Officer on all social media. Go ahead, add, like, comment on all my material. Stephen has his own as well, Stephen_Contreras_90 on Instagram, and it's Stephen Contreras on Facebook. Go ahead, add him. And I want to give a big shout out to our first sponsor, and it won't be our last sponsor, but when our first, go to www.houstonscondosales.com. It's the first site for Houstonians by Houstonians, specializing in condos, townhouses, and high rises. So take a look. It's a fabulous site. I'm on it damn near every day because that's my next thing. After I pay this house out this year, next year in Katy, I'm getting me a townhouse or probably going to get both. I'm probably going to get a townhouse and probably a high rise in Atlanta. So, but Houston, I'm looking at townhouses right now or / condos. I hadn't made up my mind. Most likely a townhouse, but if you in that category, go to www.houstonscondosales.com. Great site. All right.
Just one thing, if you got me on Facebook, please send me a direct message so I know where you're coming from.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go ahead and start off the show this week. We had a great show last week, and we want to do a continuation of it, the part 2 to it. So if you hadn't checked out last week's show, go ahead and check it out. We had a lot of people comment and send us emails off of the Apple and Spotify show. Again, more people listen to us than watch us. We're gonna change that up here. We're gonna get the formula here soon, one of these days. But
I was hoping my hair would help.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna keep grinding in the meantime. So, but we talked about how we kind of combine two things in one. The difference in my generation and Steve's generation. I'm Gen X. He's the millennial generation, and I've been seeing how the influence of the divine feminine, more feminine attributes have influenced more than the masculine attributes, and it is due to a lot of times the father being absent and just the propaganda that's going on with movies and entertainment, where you don't see a strong father in the actual household. So and it's programming, and it's kind of, we're seeing the fruits of what they're doing, and I'm kind of wondering what, where exactly this is going, because whenever history has told us, whenever you take the masculine out of the society, it tends to fold and it tends to get invaded, and it tends to dilute, and that's bye-bye to that particular society. We've seen the same thing, Greece, Rome. You take it back.
Persia, Persia.
Yes, Persia, the whole nine. So whenever you start taking that masculine energy out of the equation, out of the balance, out of the fold, out of the equilibrium, tends to go left. And so I'm trying to wonder what they're doing. I wanted to add on this week because I watched 2 movies this week. Everybody probably seen the Coming to America Part 2. It was like a staple of my youth, coming out in 1988, being like a preteen when it came out. So the Part 2, and then I seen this movie on Netflix called I Care a Lot, and both of them are kind of similar as far as what the underlying message that they were trying to portray, and both of them was like the end of the patriarchy, and is more the matriarchy ruling and ending the balance, and it's more about not being, taking a step further, like not only equal opportunity, but we want equal outcomes as well. Which is crazy to me. But I know, Steve, I don't want to spoil it. I know you hadn't seen the movie, but I'll go ahead and open it up to you. Have you been seeing lately? Have you been observing this phenomenon where it's more of that feminine attribute where I want equal outcomes for everyone? When this world was built on the patriarchy, had the masculine energy is we conquer, there's winners and losers, and everything takes its place from there. So that's why I want to kind of touch on the natural selection, winners and losers, versus I want equal outcomes for everyone. Which path will
I watched the first 15 minutes of I Do Care. It's a great movie. I just ran out of time. Honestly, Brett, I don't watch any TV besides just movies, like no TVs with commercials. Or I tried a few years ago. I tried to stop watching propaganda. I watch film and television series without commercials because it's an artistic trait. People are creative and make their opinions known. And so I respect that. I really do. It's a lot of fun. But going back to the question, so I don't really see, I try to stay away from the propaganda, but because of the world we live in today, you see it everywhere. I read the news daily just to stay up with current events. And it is a very sad change which is happening. And like you said, there's winners and losers. And I think that's a big part of it because, it's history. We've always had that strive of being the best, right? America's the best. That's what we were raised on, right? And that's a masculine trait. Everyone in America is trying to be the best that they can be, and that is masculine. That is a masculine energy. And to see in the last 20 years, I think I was talking to my sister about it. The last 20 years, the comfortability of the world has really affected how people act today, and how they don't have that strive. They're in that submissive state that they're afraid to speak out. Those are feminine attributes. Those are the beta attributes. So when we're talking on the show, we're not being sexist or feminist or anything like that. We're talking about something that's really real here that most people don't study, but we're talking about feminine energy, feminine, masculine energies here. So even 30, 40 years ago, masculine energy was high. That's how we get these strides and history and success and growth, because we're building. We're building things and building for society, which is a masculine trait. We're expanding and growing the mind. And so there was a reversal probably in about 25 years ago where they started pushing out this agenda to demasculate, I think, the whole world in a way, And so just seeing everything you see on TV and the propaganda and all this stuff, people get so offended. I don't know if you saw the Dr. Seuss stuff this week.
Right. I've seen that. I was going to touch on that as well.
It's mind blowing because I saw another good meme. It's we grew up with South Park since 10 years old. How
Right.
can that generation raised with Beavis and Butthead and South Park and The Simpsons be so offended? Like, what Dr. Seuss did, I pointed this home is because I respect it so much. Is Dr. Seuss was a philosopher. He like, if you really think about people who are watching the show, there's a show called Coco Melon on Netflix for kids, and it's a show that plays all the old stories that we were taught, like Humpty Dumpty, Ants Go Marching In. It should be the Saints, but people hide these stories and children's stories, right? Of just ideas and philosophy. They're all in the children's stories. So what Dr. Seuss did was branded his own philosophy in children's stories, which I think is very powerful. And so just to see that kind of stuff today and just people freaking out over things that don't matter is feminine, toxic feminine energy. And it's a big problem, especially in today's society. Comfortability, I think, might be the root of it all.
Well, I think it's the feminine attribute as far as the coddlement. I think it's coddling and over nurturing. And I think that's dangerous when your government takes that particular position. I think government should be neutral. I mean, even though it's an oxymoron, government means to control the mind. Govern. When you govern something, that means control. Ment is short for mental.
Mm-hmm.
But when your government over coddles you, I think that's dangerous. Because what happens is I've seen the adverse effects of it, especially in millennials. I've had family members that barely could take any type of criticism. Barely could take. How do you plan on getting better if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and get better? Every time you hey man, you need to do such. Back in my days, I would beg, hey, OGs, tell me something. How can I get better at such and such? Nowadays, if you criticize a youngin, you're hating on them. You're trolling them. This is from over coddling the youth. This is too much feminine energy. Where everybody, you want the same outcome. You want to be just like that rapper on TV. You want to be just like that businessman, but you don't want to put in the same work. And you think it's unfair. That you think it's unfair. You should have the same outcome as everybody else. That's not how this works. This is work. This country was built on extraordinary people making extraordinary moves, breaking away from the monarchy and starting and colonizing a new world. This is what this is built on. It blows my mind. This country was built on business. This is a business country. This is the land of opportunity. And in business, no business is infallible and guaranteed to win. That's the basic concepts. Yeah. But man, I'm seeing this generation. If it doesn't happen instantaneously, if it doesn't happen, without effort, it's not meant to be. And it's everybody else's fault except the person in the mirror.
And I think that's our biggest flaw as millennials. In general, we don't take responsibility for our actions because, right. And we put ourselves there because, like you said, it is true. The millennials were the first generation to get those participation trophies, right. In all the sports. And I was like, oh, maybe we should let everyone play on the team and things like that, and to see what it takes to be a winner and have that winning mindset. I think what you said, that the coddling, that it take a big effect, especially because we're all adults now, and some millennials, they choose to still act not in that adult way of thinking, in my opinion.
Well, how can you grow? How can it happen? Through osmosis. You need that masculine energy in order to grow. It's a cruel, cold world out here. You need that. You need that contrast in order to get better. You see?
Mm-hmm.
If look at even Instagram, Facebook is set up on a female. If I don't like what you're saying, I'll block you.
Isn't that crazy?
So I don't have to listen. I can create my own world where everybody agrees with me. We talked about this last week, where everybody is fighting to have somebody have the same outlook on life as you. And if you don't have the same outlook in life, I gotta tear you down until you do. And this was built on different. This basically the whole setup is built on having different angles and different outlooks on stuff, and we can agree to disagree.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the states were set up, right?
Right. Each state, if you don't like the laws in this particular state, get your grind on and move.
Right. I mean, exactly. You know,
that's what. If you don't like the way, the laws are saying, hit the voting booth, you know, and vote them out. But no, what happens is now we want everybody to agree with us. We only follow elections on the every 4 years on the president and want the president to do everything for us. The savior syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's female within itself, because personal, again, like I say at the end of every show, personal responsibility is your only savior. You are the archetype. Be the savior that you want to see. It's only a female that wants to come in and have somebody rescue them. You know, that's kind of a female attribute, to have somebody come in and rescue them and swoop them up off their feet. That's a fantasy. And it's leaking into the males. The males want this superhero, the DC Marvel, somebody to do it for them. Right place, right time. I want to get signed, and then I get signed to Cash Money, and then I'm automatically a millionaire. Mm-hmm. It's the fantasy.
Yeah. No, I think you hit a really good point, actually. You know, because it's that superhero mindset. Maybe that's why, you know, the men, you know, in today's society act the way they do, because they expect someone to come and save them. You know?
Right. Well, it's been propagated through religion. It's been propagated through the movies. Every other movie is a hero movie. Mm-hmm. And look how we categorize. Either we're heroes or villains. There's no in between. Mm-hmm. We're taught to think black or white. It's all in the programming.
Yeah, there's no.
We're not sophisticated enough to take a case by case basis. We have to drum it all into one, and this is all by grand design. So it's almost like we're like bots, either A or B, no in between. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's a scary thing, because the human experience is supposed to be creative.
Correct. You know? Well, we're supposed to be the balance. Mm-hmm. The balance is gone. Anytime you take out the balance, it's going south. So this is what we're saying. And how this relates to business, we always have to tie this to business, because what happens is you got a bunch of people, and I salute I do salute your generation for this. They do take advantage of what's out there. You know, as far as the YouTube and the social media, there's a lot of millionaires been made off of social media. But that's a very small percentage. The other ones are trying to mimic what they done. And we talk about this on the show often. It's like they try to hop in somebody else's lane. Think about it. Look at the challenges. Let's take a look at Instagram. Back in my day, it was an insult to mimic somebody. It was an insult. You know, it was called biting. And anytime you bite somebody, biting back in my day was, you could get knuckled down. It was a fight. So now it's encouraged to everybody do the same thing. Do the June bug challenge. Do this challenge. And everybody's doing the same thing. No creativity whatsoever. Everybody trying to, the people see 6ix9ine trying to troll. Everybody trying to troll now to make millions. Mm-hmm. Everybody does the same thing. It's almost, you can see it a mile away, like you becoming a bot.
It's scary, right? Because it's sucking our individualism out of ourselves.
That's the whole design.
Yeah. And
they can't see it. It's crazy. Did I tell you the Did I tell you the Popeye story on air?
I know. I think you might have told me off air, but
I'm going to go ahead and share this on air. I'm going to go ahead and share this on air. This was too scary to share. I'm going to go ahead and say it. All right. So this was during the freeze, in Houston. So I'm going to get gas. Long story short, and there's There's a gas station right down Fry. I'm in Katy, Texas, and right next to it is a Popeyes. So, there's a long line to get gas, which is fine. I needed to charge my phone anyway. And so I'm looking at this long line at Popeyes, nothing else is open. No other food place is open. I'm like, why? So I'm not seeing any smoke coming from Popeyes. I'm not seeing any movement inside. So I look even harder. I'm looking, nobody inside.
It's crazy.
Nobody's inside. So people are standing there. The line's not moving. Why are people in the line? And the line is damn near down the street. Crazy. So nobody thought to look inside. Hey, is anybody cooking chicken in there?
Right.
So we're automatically programmed, and we can't. It's a scary thing because we're one thing away from Mad Max.
Mm-hmm.
One event away from Mad Max. We can't think for ourselves. We don't know how to hunt. We don't know. We definitely don't know how to identify what leaves are poisonous and not poisonous. We're screwed.
Speaking of that, like survival guides, like I have books, right? I read a lot of books, so I have like a stack of like, especially because I live in Texas, I have like survival books of like how to survive with plants, identify plants. So like I recommend to everyone out there, but like if you want to educate yourself in case of emergencies, like go buy those books at Barnes Noble. It's like what to do, like what leaves are good, what fruits are good, like how to. But people don't.
Our audience probably will, but most of our audience, well, not even our audience, most of the masses will not. They know logos. They don't know leaves. They know which. Think about it. Which is total. That's not enough. Daddy didn't teach you anything. And the whole income is feminine. How we look, how we smell. What about if this thing collapse? How you survive?
Yeah.
Can you build a house? Can you build a fire? So we automatically, it's all about comfort. So our minds, I'm looking at this chicken line. We're hallucinating. The line is around the corner, hallucinating that we're so used to convenience that they didn't even think to look. Is it open? That was the scariest thing I ever seen in person, man.
Yeah, I mean that's terrifying, because that's people are just. It's two things, right? It's like either people were just so hungry that they didn't even bother to look because they don't know how to cook anything, or they have no electricity, they didn't prepare. Sorry, but you know what I'm saying. Or they're just so programmed. They're like, oh, people in line to go get chicken. I'm going to get chicken because I'm hungry, and they just
right. And then didn't even think to look around. Check your peripheral vision. All right, do I see any employees' cars in the parking lot? No, the parking lot is empty. Well, who's cooking this chicken?
Casper.
Is the line moving? Do you see people happy with chicken bags rolling out of this? No, you just see people being impatient and moving off. So that's scary that you know why they call it sheep? Because the sheep is really one of the dumbest animals in the kingdom, because a sheep will lose his mother. You can pull up next to a sheep and the sheep will think you're his mother and follow you. So this is why they call it sheep, and it's a scary thought. Yes, you hit it from all angles. Yeah, we are not prepared to have a blackout or a freeze.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how to cook. We don't know how to, everything is canned. We don't make our own food anymore.
Yeah.
Too much mommy, not enough daddy. I get it. The feminine energy drives you towards comfort and beauty. But you need that balance. We lose this, we're going to lose society, and it's coming.
And just
one thing away from Mad Max.
And speaking of that, just to think about it on a different scale too, is like the whole universe is balanced. So when you tilt one side, think about the Earth. The Earth mimics the human brain if you look at it with its electromagnetic shield. We have a pole, a north and south pole that produce an energy shield of magnets, right? You got your positive and negative, and it creates a shield to block the radiation. If there's not enough balance with the positive and negative, the radiation is going to consume the Earth and we all die, And so think about it like that. If there's not a balance of positive masculine, negative, female energy, like thinking on just gender neutrality laws, positive and negative. It's it's going to create an influx and shift everything and crumble and crash and burn.
Right.
So
Well, that's what's happening with the society that's coming soon. That we have lost a lot of the masculine attributes. Instead of building our own house, we buy houses. Instead of growing our own food, we buy food, and we are subject to we're subject to that society. If that society crumbles, we're helpless without that society. I mean, it just is what it is. And then taking it back to the movie again, I don't want to ruin the movie, but the reason why they had a lot of the patriarchy like they did in Africa, that with the kings, because of the military. Same thing with Rome and Greece. Once you lose that military, once that military weaken, you are subject to invasion. So I don't want to ruin the movie, but it kind of gave a fairy tale glimpse at that as far as invasion but the outcome is very, very fairy tale-ish in Hollywood that they had on Coming to America Part 2. But they show where they're trying to go with this society. They're trying to make even outcomes, which doesn't happen in reality. You could try all you want, but again, nature is always going to win.
Nature is always going to win. And just speaking about just the military and the kings for a second, in ancient Greece, I think it was the Peloponnesian Wars, or however you say that, when Athens became too feminine energy, they got corrupted and greed, and they tried to influence all of ancient Greece, which was, I think, one of the largest kingdoms at the time. And the Spartans said no, and they were a very masculine dominated society, not like men in general, because they respected their women so much. Like the women actually ruled the household and the men were the protectors, like we talked about last week, like lions, and they were warriors though. The men were warriors and fighters, and they became the strongest military force, and it caused a civil war that broke up ancient Greece because the feminine Athens, that the scholars and the submissives and the betas wanted to take over what Sparta had for such a long time, of that positive masculine influence of a thriving, successful state.
You perfectly described that movie, I Care a Lot. That's exactly what the underlying theme is, that the lead character was a lesbian. She wanted to take down what the good old boys had set up. And she didn't care who she had to run through, how many souls she had to capture to do that. And that was the whole thing. She wanted to be just as ruthless as the boys. And that was the whole underlying theme of I Care a Lot. And then the title was, it was one of those what's the term when you call a big dude tiny?
It's not little man syndrome, is it? It's
no, it's like the opposite. It was I Care a Lot. It was like the title was a flip flop. It's meaning she didn't care at all. Okay. There's lack of empathy on what was happening with the radical feminism, and they don't care. It defies logic. What's going on. And I give more examples, like, feminism at its core. I want to say this before we get off the air. Feminism at its core, I don't have a problem with, which is equal opportunity. I could dig that. I have a daughter. But I do not subscribe to equal outcome. You want to be in the military, cool, but you get your leg blown off. You want to be in the workforce, cool. You got to compete just like us. You want equal pay? Prove it. Work for it. I shouldn't have to just give you equal pay just because of your gender. So I believe in equal opportunity, but not equal outcome. Work for it. And see what happens is, in the society, again, we want everybody to have equal outcome. And that's not how this country was built. You got to have winners and losers. And on to be at the top side, you got to have somebody at the bottom. It's on the the pyramid. You got to have people at the bottom. That's just what it is. You can't grade on the curve. And see, this is why a lot of my people, especially in my community, we're drunk with the diplomatic party, the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party has done more harm to us than anything the Republican Party could ever think of. Because you got the breaking up of the family, welfare, victim mind state, where I instead of working for it, I want a handout. I should have equal outcome just because I didn't get my ancestors didn't got the shaft, so I should get this automatically.
Yeah, and if people always use that statement of what you just said about the land and past sins of, you can't blame a son for their father's crimes. But anyway, it's like throughout all ages, like even since the beginning of time, you can go back to ancient Egypt and before what it was called, before it was what? Kemet, right? Yeah. Before even then, the people who live in Egypt aren't really Egyptians. Native Americans got killed off and people are living in America now, throughout all time. Like
I disagree with you on that, definitely.
But the Germanic tribes, they came in and they conquered Rome underground. It's just like that stimulation of people moving from land to land to land is always going to be there. And so to get repaid for crimes against land, is almost an impossible thing because it's been done so many times over and over. Because where is it going to stop? Because it's been happening for like thousands of years.
Well, this is the thing. I disagree with you about the Native Americans. First of all, I think it's an oxymoron. It just, that's like saying cold ice. Ice is going to be cold. So there's Americans, and they've been here, and they're still here. They just got reclassified as Negro, Black, American, African American, and all these other stuff. American Indian. So everybody's got spliced up into different categories. So the people that was here before the Europeans got here, or should I say the Caucasians got here, are still here. This got reclassified and they lost their history. It was a paperwork genocide. But this is the thing that we got to own up to. We lost. I mean, we got our butts kicked. Regroup. Come to, I know unity is a cliche that's probably a euphoria, but get the groups together that are willing and one-minded to make change and make the change necessary. By begging for or doing a feminine attribute thing by this cancel culture and trying to shame society it's a slow thing, and it probably won't yield the results that you want.
Like, what do you think about like the Mr. Potato Head? Like, there's a Mrs. Potato Head, right? There's two different things. Why do they need to change that? Like, why are people worried about that?
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing with this new society, is to get you to worry about everybody else's mind frame, to try to keep that mind frame one, as opposed to focusing on yourself and bettering yourself. Yeah. See, the more I could get you to offer yourself and looking at everybody else, is the if you can't look inward, you're never going to grow, and you're going to keep being at that sheep level. You're never going to grow into your archetype of what you're truly supposed to be. That's the whole social engineering thing. If I could get you looking at the Kardashians or what Kanye's doing, as opposed to bettering yourself and learning about your relationship skills and learning how to better your relationship experience, then I won.
Yeah. And what you just said there is feminine too, because like you're not learning about yourself. It takes a hard look into yourself that is actually kind of like a masculine feature.
Well, even feminine is that in itself, is absorbing somebody else's energy and trying to make it better. That's feminine attributes. It's like a woman's supposed to absorb that man's mind and then make him better. Unfortunately, the man in this situation is the government. And we all becoming absorbing the government's mind through the social engineering, and we making him better. You're making your stronghold. You're making the stronghold on yourself even stronger and stronger. So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it goes on both sides when you're talking about the propaganda is real on each side. It's not one or another, you know.
Right. So it is what it is, man. Again, solutions. Let's go to solutions before we get up out of here. My thing is, will it ever get reversed? I don't know. But how it relates to business and why we're saying this on the Power of Ownership podcast. If you are an entrepreneur, you want to be in that 1%, you have to realize you have to get that balance between the masculine and the feminine. You got to realize that there's no real losses. There's only wins and lessons, and you're not guaranteed to win. You know, so you have to, you know, as a lot of men get that, you know, but a lot of millennials and zillennials don't get that. You know, that there's wins and there's losses, and the losses don't mean stop. That don't mean stop and try something else. That means, you know, you gotta have that grit and that perseverance. That's what one thing we lost, you know. And solutions wise is just that, you know, you gotta study some of the older generations. You know, turn off the TV. Because you will get propaganda, you know, you get the propaganda at every angle if you're looking at TV at all times, you know. So turn off the TV, study some of the old stuff, and go from there. That would be my solution.
Yep. I guess one of my solutions, I think, right, it's mind, body, and soul, right? You have to mentally be prepared for this world, physically be able to survive it, and spiritually to understand it, right? And so I would say exercise is always a good boost of just in general positivity. If you can change your habits of your daily life and doing something good like exercise for your body, you'd be actually kind of surprised on how much of a boost it'll give you to be hungrier, to be, guess, more resolved than previously just by exercising or going on a walk and looking up. I think that's too, Brandon, is like no one looks up to the stars anymore, and we all just look down at the ground. You know, you can't
Well,
go.
we were taught in my generation. I don't know how true this is, but as far as, you know, well, I know it's absolutely false, but I don't know how true that everybody was taught it. But I know I was taught as a kid to never stare at the sun because you'll go blind. You know, which is totally false. You know, stargazing is a real thing, and you know, we were always taught the opposite. We always taught get out of the sun because you could get cancer. Don't walk on the grass, walk on the concrete. Mm-hmm. So we were taught the opposite of what it really was. You need the vitamin D. You need to get sun as part of your diet, period. You know, it just is what it is. And then sun is that is information, because everything is sacred energy exchange. So your skin is your biggest organ. So absorbing that sunlight is information to your DNA, you know, which melanin is condensed sunlight. So you need that. We're actually taught to be modern cavemen, and you know, and your apartment and your house is your cave.
Yeah, that's actually a good analogy. I mean, you should hashtag that one, modern caveman. Man, what did the pandemic do? Took us back to the Stone Age.
Well, that's part of what they're doing as well with the pandemic, and then the freeze is, you know, you're becoming modern cavemen, and you know, but we're, instead of hunting for our food, we gotta, you know, we go to Popeye and Jack in the Box line, and pretty soon it's going to be to where, you know, with the Uber Eats and all that stuff, we're not going to leave the house. So we're approaching the Matrix pods real soon, where we never leave the house and we get all our food shipped in, you know, through what is Walgreens and all. I mean, Walgreens and all that has delivery service now. So we're getting to the point where you're not going to drive cars anymore. It's going to be driverless cars. They said by 2030, right? You're not going to drive anymore. Everything's going to be Uber. You're not going to own any cars for the most part. Only the rich going to be owning cars, and everything else is going to be, you know, stay at the house, and we'll drive you everywhere, you know, and everything's going to be Zoom meetings, virtual. So we're getting to the pod, you know, the Matrix pod, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think they did all the ventilators? You know, I mean, that was a big boost, and we have a ventilator for every person in America now. You know,
right? So it's getting to that point, and right before your eyes, and the scary part is nobody saying anything. Yeah. that's the scary part. It's like nobody said anything. We just going along with it. Oh, you want a mask on while I'm driving? Okay, I'll put the mask on.
Yeah.
Nobody questions anything.
And I just want to say one more solution I think would be is just go out there and just experience. Like you said, turn off the TV and just observe and look and try to think of original thought. Not don't get mad because someone has a different opinion than you. Try
Right.
to see it from their perspective. I mean, that's called being civil, right?
Right.
Civil.
Well, that's the only way you could grow. That's the only way you could grow instead of arguing, asking somebody about the different opinions of, and digesting that opinion and dwelling on it and then seeing if there's anything that could challenge your opinion that we could make you better. But if you never get challenged, think about it. If a fighter never actually, a boxer never actually sparred against anybody, when he goes into the ring, you're going to get your butt whipped.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing I said about last week's show about the guy, the little kid with the Black King shirt. Wanted the teacher to get fired. That's because you don't have your argument up to par. If you could easily say, hey, why should they have a I would easily say, hey, they shouldn't have a White History Month because most of the history is stolen. So the Black History Month, you should have more months for Black History Month because and then let's have Indigenous History Month. So let's go even further. Let's trade back to the stuff that they stole. So I would go that route with the teacher instead of trying to have them fired. Let's intellectually spar. So, but that's the female attribute. Hey, he doesn't agree with me. I want to cancel you.
Mm-hmm. And that cancel culture is dangerous. It's so
right.
dangerous.
Well, it's in everything we do. Everything. If it's set up like that. If we don't, somebody doesn't think completely alike with you, you're not going to do business with them. I'm not going to go to Chick-fil-A. I'm not going. It's crazy. So it is what it is. I think it's. I don't think it's going to be a reversal. I think it has to be a elite group that kind of going against the grain and kind of I'm going to have to not really separate, but it's going to have some type of alternative because where it's going is going to collapse. You know what I mean?
For sure, and it's a scary thing because I don't know if I should say it on air or not, but it's just like the way the world is going. It's not good, and it's just like the only way that we can do it is just try to dig ourselves out of the hole instead of putting our head in the sand. That's the best thing I can say.
Right. So with that being said, we're kind of over the time. I wanted to keep this one kind of short. Final word is, like I said, just tap in tune into your masculine energy. And watch less of the propaganda. That's my only thing. Let's go ahead and promote and let's get out of here. Again, if you like what we're doing, go ahead and hit the Cash App, the Power of Ownership. Keep the donations coming. Stephen has his own Cash App as well. Stephen1234. I'm a mortgage broker by trade. If you want to go ahead and get your new house, investment property, so on and so forth, go to applywithb.com. If you want to book me for sales training, go to my website, billionaireloanofficer.com, sales training. You want to write a sales script, so on and so forth. Or you can call me, 832-775-8357. I'm available 24/7 as long as it's about business. At Billionaire Loan Officer on all social media. So go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe, so on and so forth. Stephen is Stephen_Contreras_90 on Instagram and Stephen Contreras on Facebook. Also, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, www.houstonCondoSales.com. If you need a condo in the Houston area, this is the #1 site for the purchase and review condos. So
I just have one thing to say. Thanks, Robert Higgins, for sharing your comments with us throughout the chat. We read them all, and I'm glad you were here with us today.
Yes, sir. So we appreciate all comments and welcome all comments and likes and subscribe. So keep coming with it. With that being said, don't forget that God is a verb and personal responsibility is your only savior. And with that, I'm going to say peace.
Peace.